What's going on YouTube? Today we're doing Windows Privilege Escalation from TryHackMe Privilege Escalation Room, which we will cover today. Okay guys, so what we're going to do here, let's go over the tasks that need answers. So we have task 3, we have task 5, 6 and 7. So we're going to go over these. The rest of the tasks are only reading. You can go over them and read them. Okay, so let's get started. So let's take this to the right and we deploy the machine. I'm going to show you guys here. So basically we'll deploy the machine for the task 3, harvesting passwords from usual spots. Okay, so after we deploy the machine, we're going to use Remina remote desktop client to connect to the machine. So I have the settings here, gonna edit them with the respective information. So the username and password are given in the challenge. So I'm just gonna copy the password now, and the IP address, I'm waiting for the IP address to be populated. So we have around 4 questions. So to answer these questions, we have to look for hard-coded passwords. We have to look for files where passwords are written in clear text to be able to answer these. Now, looking for passwords is actually a method of escalating your privileges. So the IP now is live. Let's take it. And now we will save and connect. Let's see here, I have to connect to the VPN. Alright, let's check this out. Connect. Gonna accept the warning. And now we are logging in now as THM unpriv. Okay, let me open my notes now. So make everything ready. Okay, so the notes are ready now. Let's go and answer the questions. So first question here. A password for Julia Jones user has been left in the PowerShell history, on the PowerShell history. What is the password? So you guys were looking to reveal the PowerShell history, the commands that have been typed in PowerShell. So to achieve this, we're going to type a single command from the command line. So we go to the command line here, and we can just search for it, or we can spawn it from the task manager here. You can right click and let's see here. Taskbar. Okay, we're going to do it from here. CMD. Alright. Let's adjust the settings of this, make this bigger so you guys don't need to squint and you know, be easy for viewing. So font 20, let's see. Yeah, a bit bigger. We need to make this a bit bigger. So properties, font, make it 28. Yeah, I think this is acceptable for now. All right. So let me search in my notes for PowerShell. Yeah. So view PowerShell command history. We're gonna copy the command here and go back, paste it here. Let's go over the command. So we are revealing a file or the contents of a file named console host underscore history. This file contains all of the commands that were typed in a PowerShell session. I'm gonna hit enter. As you can see, these are the commands. Who am I /prev. Someone was enumerating their privileges, what groups they belong to, and here, as you can see, we have user that have been added, Julia Jones, and this is their password. So we're gonna copy the password and provide it as an answer. So the answer for here, this is the answer. So this is one of the places, guys, you would look through if you want to reveal plain text passwords, which is the PowerShell command history. That's one. A web server is running on the remote host. Find any interesting password on the web config files associated with IIS. What's the password of the DB admin user? Now, the web config is the configuration file of the web server named internet information servers. So basically, the IIS is a web server that usually runs on Windows Server. So if you are running a website, okay, that's hosted on IIS, you will have all the configurations under web config, much like wp-config in WordPress. So basically, this file contains or may contain plain text passwords such as database passwords. So this file is of an interest for a person who is conducting privilege escalation. Let's review the password in this file. So normally we have to locate this file first. So let's see here, looking for IIS. So web config. So we have two locations for web config. The first one is under Windows, Microsoft.NET, Framework 64, and the other one is under the root directory. So we're going to look for both. So copy that. So here we reveal the contents of the file, and then we employ the command find string to look for the word connection string. Under this word, we may be able to reveal some sort of credentials. Let's see here. So indeed we have connection string, and as you can see, add connection string, and this is the database server, the username, and this is the password. Okay, let's see now the other location under the root directory of the web server. So as you can see, int pub www.root web config reveal. So we don't have this file in the current machine. So this is the answer for the question. So that's another location you would look in if you are trying to look for plain text passwords, the web config. Of course, you would only find this file if you're running Windows Server and IIS as the web server. There is a saved password on your Windows credentials using CMD key and run as spawn a shell for mike.cats and retrieve the flag from his desktop. So basically, Windows credentials are the username and password. Now, sometimes you don't have to learn them. You don't have, in order to escalate your privileges, you don't have to learn the username and password, or at least the password. What you have to do, you have to reveal them, okay, using CMD key, and then using the saved credentials, run commands as the user. So when you run commands as the user, okay, you are actually impersonating the user identity without the need for locating or finding their password. Let's see how this works. So if we type, let's see here, look for this. So we're going to look for cred view saved credentials. So we're going to take this command cmd key /list. So in here we see the stored credentials in this machine. As you can see, guys, we don't have plain text password here. Okay, we have two usernames, mike.cats, and we have did logical. But for me, the target is this one, mike.cats. As you can see, I don't have revealed password here. There is no plain text password. So are we able to escalate our privileges? Yes, we can. Are we able to reveal the password? No, but we don't need to, since these credentials are saved, and we can now run commands as mike.cats. So what we have to do, we have to use the run as. So with run as /save cred, here we're indicating that we want to use the saved credentials. Okay, /user will define the user. Sometimes you have a list of many users, so you would have to determine the user that we want to use. So basically here in the current command it is admin. We're going to change this to mike.cats. And then we define the command that we would like to execute as the user mike.cats. As you can see now, if we hit enter, so now as you can see, we have spawned a new shell. And if you look closer, again, I'm gonna make this bigger for you guys. It is under mike.cats. If you type who am I, and you are mike.cats, now you can do all sorts of operations on files and directories as mike.cats. So let's see what is the question here. There is a saved password on your Windows credentials. Using cmd key and run as, spawn a shell for Mike and retrieve the flag from his desktop. Okay, now we have to navigate to the desktop under Mike. And there you go, this is the flag, guys. So the last one, retrieve the saved password stored in the saved putty session under your profile. What's the password for Tom Smith user? Now putty is an SSH client you can use to connect to an SSH server. So normally when you create a session, the credentials are saved. So basically we can find the saved credentials, including the proxy credentials if applicable in your case, in the profile. So basically we're going to reveal the location of the file that contains the credentials. We're going to look for putty here. Okay, so it is under registry. So let's copy this command. Let's see here. So we are revealing the contents of the key under current user software. So here we're gonna need to insert the username. Okay, and we are revealing, as you can see, the key under putty sessions/f, and it is proxy. The system was unable to find the specified registry key or value. So the user is right, putty sessions. Let's see the question one more time. Retrieve the saved password stored in the saved putty session under your profile. What's the password for Tom.Smith? So here the user doesn't exist. We're gonna have to see under the user under our profile, which is thm-unpriv. So we're going to use the same command and switch the user. Again, the system wasn't able to find. So let's see debug dir mang.cats thm-unpriv. So here I'm a bit confused. What do they mean by under your profile? Which profile? So basically my profile now, if you type OMI, it's thm-unpriv. So I'm not sure here what to do. So we have my cats task. Let's look here, see if we have any clue. This is the profile, Simon Tatham. Let's try this one. And now I guess it worked. Let's see here. Let's close this one. Indeed, this is the password, the proxy password for Tom.Smith, but it wasn't clear what they meant or what they implied by saying under a profile. It was revealed that we have to use the profile here in this command, Simon Tatham. Okay, so that's it for harvesting passwords from usual spots, which is one of the methods or quick methods to escalate your privileges. Let's look at other quick wins here. What is the task user1 flag? So this is about, I guess, which task, always install elevated or the scheduled tasks. Let's see here. Task user 1. Yeah, so let's go over this. What is the task user 1 flag? So here we have to understand scheduled tasks. Okay, so basically escalating your privileges through scheduled tasks relies on understanding what kind of scheduled tasks there are on the system and what they execute and under which user. So first, let's review the scheduled tasks. Much like cron jobs in Linux. As you can see, we have many scheduled tasks here. So if you want to go over all of them, it's going to be a bit time consuming. So I'm going to use the next command here, where we actually, as you can see here, I'm going to explain the difference for you guys. So here we are, as you can see, targeting a single task, which is vulnerable task. If you go up there, if you go back to the last command, find string, and then, so here we are displaying all the scheduled tasks. Okay, list all of them, and we're going to filter only the task named vulnerable task. As you can see, we have a task called vulnerable task. Now if we use this command, we will specify the name of the task to reveal the information about this task, all the details. So what matters with all this information is that the task to run. Here it lists, or it tells you the file that it is executing, or the binary, or whatever the script was there that the task is executing or will execute. So as you can see, it is a bat. script. And the next thing is we need to know what is the user under which the task is running, or the the script is running. So it is under, as you can see, task to run, and we have run as user. So run as user is task user 1. So what does this mean? It means that if you are able to exploit this task, okay, we will be able to run commands or payloads as the user task user 1, okay, which is the objective required under this task. We need to retrieve the flag under this user. So in a regular scenario, it could be any other user. It could be the system user. So when you select, or when you aim on a specific task to exploit, you have to find out, or to focus on the task to run, what kind of object or entity it is executing, and under which user. If you want to escalate to that user, then you have to find out a way to, instead of executing the listed payload here, or the listed executable or binary or whatever, guys, you get it, put your payload instead. So let's go over this path and see what are the permissions under the tasks directory, and at the same time the script schedule task.path. If we have permissions to modify or replace this file, then we are able to write our own payload instead of this binary. So what can happen next is, when the task runs again, it will run our own payload, okay, instead of the listed entity here. Okay, so let's use a tool called iCasks. So in this tool, we're going to be able to reveal the permissions on this script, and then we're gonna copy the path. Okay, so as you can see, administrators have full control, system have full control, and all the users have full control over this. So this means that we are able to modify this file, okay, or change it all together. So the objective will be adding one line to this file. Let's take a look at this file first. What's the contents under this file? So this is the contents of the file. Who am I? C task. So first it executes who am I command and sends the output to this file, and then it executes ipconfig and sends the output to this file, C tasks output.txt. So what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to add a new line here, okay, a new line to for the file to execute. So basically this line will be could be anything, could be any payload, could be any command. So what we're going to do, we're going to get back to the attacker machine, and we're going to spawn a listener. Now back to the victim machine here, or the Windows machine, echo c tools nc. So under tools, under the tools directory here in Windows, you will find many of the tools ready for you to use. So basically C, you go to tools, and here you have several tools, NC, and you have Microsoft internal tool, access check, process hacker, PS tools. Normally you would need to upload them yourself, but for the sake of simplicity, they have been uploaded for you. So close and go back. Okay, and then use NC or netcat to connect to my machine, execute CMD. Now here we're going to need to put my IP address. and here we forward the output to the file, which is this one. Now the next thing is for you to wait. You need to wait for the task to be executed. Sometimes you will have the ability to execute the task yourself if you have permissions. You can try. So scheduled /run/tn, and then we name the task that we are trying to execute. So it is vulnerable task. If this works, if you have permissions over this task to execute it, okay, the command will be successful. If you don't have permissions, then you're gonna have to wait for the task to rerun again. So here it is T. Okay, now we should have received the listener. Okay, as you can see, we received the connection. Okay, now we are required to find the flag. See the users, dir. So this is the user. See the task 1. And this is your flag. So this is for task 4, guys. Task 4 and task 3. So here now let's start enumerating the services. We're looking here to find a service that uses an executable which has insecure permissions. So here we're looking to manipulate the executable, okay, that is used by one of the services. So to find that executable, we will have first to list the services. So let's see here, services. Okay, let's list now the running services. Task list isn't recognized as an internal, so there is no task list. Okay, let's look for another one. Let's use WMIC. Look what I did here. Okay, so these are the running services. So let's see here. So the service in question, guys, is the Windows scheduler, which is laid down in the example in this room. We're gonna have to find this. Okay, let's see the other command. So let's look for the Windows scheduler. The Windows scheduler is the service that is the targeted service here, but I'm trying to see if it is listed here, because normally, guys, you would have to go through this. You would have to list all of the services, okay, and then narrow down on the service that is in question or of interest. Okay, nevertheless, let's not make things harder on us, okay. Let's now narrow down on the service that is of interest. So the service name is Windows Scheduler, and to view information about the specific service, guys, we're gonna have to use the sc command. So basically, if we go back, okay, so here we view details about specific service. So we copy that, and the service name is Windows Okay, so this is the service name. Let's see if we can find this under this list. Find string. So indeed, as you can see, guys, we have the Windows Scheduler service. Okay, System Scheduler service, and this is the executable it is using, W service, and it is auto started. Okay, so we narrowed down on this service. Okay, now in order to exploit the service, we will have to look at the binary path name, okay, and the service start name. Okay, the binary path name lists the executable the service is using, and this is your target. Service start name is the user that is running the service. This is the user that you will become, okay, or to which you will escalate the privilege if you are able to, you know, exploit or exploit this binary. In other words, replace this binary with your own payload or modify it. Okay, now next thing is to view the permissions on this binary. Are we able to modify it? Are we able to do whatever we would like on it? So we're gonna use this tool, and then we're gonna copy the path. Let's see here. As you can see, as always, the authority system has full control, administrators have full control, and users read, write, read, execute, but everyone here can modify on it. Okay, so everyone on this computer or this domain has modified permissions on this service executable. This means we can simply overwrite it with any payload of our preference, and only after doing so we will be able to, or the service will execute the binary or the payload of our choosing with the privileges of the configured user, which is service user 1. Okay, so the next step is obvious now, is to create a payload. We're going to use MSF Venom. Okay, sudo MSF Venom -p Windows x64 shell reverse TCP lhost and now we specify the, as you can see, it will be an executable service executable, sorry, -o payload v1. We wait. Okay, let's go back, and while this is running, let's go to the path here. So let's see, where is the path? The path of the file. So C program system1. Let's copy that. Well, let's first download dir cd I think we will have to go to temp, right? Or download this to the temp, or we can download it to the current user. So the current user now, the current user profile, who am I? Okay, so cd users, cd task user 1. Let's see here. No, thm. So under this directory, we will download the file. So we use wget. Before executing the command, let's make sure the web server is running. And then let's pull the payload. wget is not recognized as an internal. So let's use PowerShell, guys, to download the file. Let's see this command. So we were looking to download payload. Okay, let's see now. As you can see now, we have the payload v1 downloaded to the desktop. The next step now, guys, we will cd to the path of the executable that we would like to modify, take a backup, and then change it. Here are move, take a backup of this one in case things went south, and then again put back up. Okay, now we're gonna move the file or our payload, which is under this path. Okay, guys, so what's gonna happen here, we're gonna move the payload we created, okay, and rename it to wservice, and lastly place it under this directory. Okay, so what happened here, guys, is the original service executable got renamed to backup, and then the payload we created has been moved to this path, which is the service executable path, and renamed to match the original name. So now the service will execute our own payload. Now, before doing this, since now the service is under a different user, we're gonna have to give everyone the ability to access and use this executable. Okay, so we're gonna grant access for everyone, full access. Grant everyone full access. Okay, now we go back, making sure the listener is running. The listener now is running. The last thing now, guys, is to restart the service. Okay, so sc stop Windows and then sc start and we should have now we must have received the listener. Let's see, and yes, we have the session. Now it's that we can retrieve the flag. Let's see who am I first. As you can see, we are the service user 1, which happens to be the user running this service, as we saw earlier. Okay. And this is your flag. Okay. Get the flag on service user 2. In service user 2, we will exploit uncoded service path, which is also a common misconfiguration. Let's first go over the uncoded service path or choose the service that's in question. So in our example here, or as always, you will have, guys, to list all of the services, narrow down on the specific service. Let's assume that you have narrowed down your choosing on a specific service, and in this case the service name is Disk Sorter Enterprise. We will enumerate the service by using sc or query the service using scqc, and then here the name of the service, Disk Sorter Enterprise. This is the service that is of interest in this example. So as you can see, the binary path name, C my programs, Disk Sorter Enterprise, bin diskers, and the service start name is service user 2. This is the configured user under which the service is running, and this is the executable the service is running. So if you look closely on the binary path name, you can easily spot the problem. The problem here is that we have spaces, okay, in the name. Now spaces on its own aren't a problem, okay, you can use spaces, but the problem here is that when we don't have double quotes, okay, or when we use spaces without double quotes, the command line or the command prompt will interpret spaces as argument separator. Okay, that's the explanation here. So what's going to happen here is, guys, when the service tries to execute, it will look for the executable, right? Let's take a look at the order by which the service will look for the executable. So first, it's going to go to C, my programs, disk, and it encounters a space. Since we don't have quotes here, okay, it will interpret the space as an argument separator, which means it will say, we have, let's look for an executable named disk, okay, and it will interpret everything else or after the space as an argument in order to help you, okay, execute the service and not result in any error. That's what's going to happen. So first it will look for disk.exe. If this doesn't exist, it will then go to disk sorter.exe. Doesn't exist, it will then go to disk sorter enterprise and look for the closest executable it can find. That's the problem. Now an attacker can exploit this misconfiguration and create a payload either called or named disk.exe or disk sorter.exe and place it under my programs if they have permissions to do that. So we have two conditions to or by which we can actually think if we can exploit this misconfiguration. First, we will have to check if we have permissions to write or store files under my programs directory, and we will have to check if we if there are double quotes here. Now, since we don't have double quotes and we have spaces, we can go about creating any payload and name it as disk or disk sorter. Okay, now let's create a payload, guys, and name it as disk.exe. So let's go back to Okay, so here we have several shells running. Gonna exit. Okay, use the same msfnum command and change payload v2 to v1 to v2. Now let's check the permissions on my programs. Let's take a look. So don't bother administrators, don't bother system and the owner. Let's take a look at the users. We are part of the users group. As you can see, we have read, execute, AD and WD, which means we can create subdirectories and files. So that condition is met. We can create files and directories under my programs. Now our payload is in the pipeline, so it has been created. Let's now spawn a web server. Okay, and now we will download the payload. So cd back ULI. Again, going to download this THM on priv. All right, so PowerShell to the rescue now. I think we can retrieve the old command, the old PowerShell command we have typed a while ago. So no need to modify every single detail. Payload v2, and now we will execute. And now we have payload v2, guys. So we will grant everyone now access to this payload to execute, write, read, and so on and so forth. First, let's move this payload, guys, to the directory of the service executable, which is under C My Programs. Now we will have to choose which one. So as I said earlier, the flow of the execution will start as C My Programs disk.exe and then C My Programs disk sorter.exe. So as I said earlier, guys, we will choose the first flow, C My Programs disk.exe. So we will rename our payload to disk.exe and move it to My Programs. Okay. So move. No, that's not the correct one. Okay, see my programs. Let's see. One file moved, and now we will give it permissions. Okay, now the last thing is to restart the service. So we have the listener. We need to make sure the listener is running. Okay. Right. See, and we received the shell. Who am I? and you are service user 2. So cd users on service user 2, and this is the flag. So this is the flag for the task of this user. Going here, let's see here, paste. So that's correct. Lastly, get the flag on the administrator's desktop. Now, getting the flag on the administrator's desktop relies on another aspect of privilege escalation, which is insecure permissions. Okay, let's go over this. Again, guys, as I said earlier, when we exploit service misconfigurations, whether it is insecure permissions on the executable, uncoded service path, or the one that we will be exploiting now, which is insecure server permissions, you will have to enumerate the services, list them, and choose a service to become of your interest. Okay, now in the current example here, or in this example, we will be enumerating a specific service for insecure permissions, but not not the executable permissions, but the service itself, which we call it the discretionary access control list. Okay, now we can enumerate the discretionary access control list of any service using access check. So you can find access check under, let's see, cd access check. Okay, now we're going to use access check to enumerate the discretionary access control list of the service. Now, misconfigurations in the discretionary access control list of any service are common. Okay, so the way to enumerate them is we use access check. So now access check 64, and then dash QLC, and the service name. The service name is THM service. I'm going to agree. Okay, so what we're looking for, we're looking for a string called service all access. So we have service all access, but to whom? To all users, which means all users can play with the service, can reconfigure the service. Okay, now what's going to happen here, guys? Again, we're going to build a payload, okay, and retrieve the payload with the machine and reconfigure the service to use that payload. Okay, going back to the machine now, my machine, exit, clear, exit. Okay, new tab, or I don't want to open new tab because I want to use the same command. So I'm going to stop this and here name it v3. While this is running, let's go back. And then we will check PowerShell to download the payload. This time will be v3. Before executing, make sure the payload has been created and the server is running. And we have payload v3 now. Okay, now let's give everyone again access to modify on this payload by saying itax and then the path to the payload. Okay, successfully processed 1 files. Okay, now let's enumerate the service a bit. See where is the path, or what is the service executable that it is using. So scqc thm service. As you can see, it is using thm service executable, and it is running under SVC user 3. So normally what's happening here is that if we are able to make the service execute our own payload, we will escalate to service user 3. But since we have a misconfiguration in the discretionary access control list, where everyone, as you can see, all the users can have all sorts of access on the service, what we can do here, guys, we can not only change the executable, we can also change the user that the service is running under, which means if we are able to reconfigure the service to use our own payload v3 under binary path name, and use local system or net authority system as a user, we will be able to escalate to the highest privileged user on the system. So how to do that? We're going to use scconfig and the service name. So here we are configuring the binary path. Okay, the binary path will be the path to our own payload. In this case, it is under desktop. No need to move your payload here. Okay, so we go to, this is the path. Payload v3. And lastly, to change the user, we use the object. I'm going to use local system, indicating that we would like to change the service start name to local system. The user will be local system, and the executable will be payload v3. Execute, success, and now we will restart the service. Before doing so, make sure that your listener is running. The specified service does not exist. Exactly, it doesn't exist. There was a typo. All right, let's see, and we received a session. Who am I? And you are the highest privileged user. And this is the last flag. This is the administrator flag, guys. Okay, this is done. So now we have, as you can see, gone over the passwords and again schedule task and service misconfigurations. Stop the machine now. Okay, take a break, and then we will be on to tasks 6 and 7, where we will be abusing dangerous privileges and vulnerable software. Let's start the machine here and see how many questions we have to answer. Get the flag on the administrator's desktop. Okay, so we start off with enumerating the privileges of the current account. Who am I /priv. So we see we have say take ownership privilege. Take ownership of files with objects, which means the current user can take ownership of any object on the system, files, directories, subdirectories, registry keys. This means if we are able to find a service or a process running under a highly privileged user, such as a net authority system, we can take over the executable or the service or a process executable, replace it with whatever object we want. Okay. So how can we start this? The first thing, we now know that we have static ownership privilege. Let's now let me give you a look now on the executable that we will exploit. So basically, the executable is running under C Windows System 32, which is the utility man executable. The utility man is a built-in Windows application used to provide ease of access options during the lock screen. So if you take a look now at the lock screen, as you can see, this is the utility man executable. Okay, let's now log in back. This is the executable that we will exploit. So the word is mine, the password. Okay, let's first locate the path of the executable. So it is under C or CD. It's here actually, dir find string Okay, I'm not gonna search for this one. So normally the executable or utility man is found under system 32. Okay, now in order to use that privilege or advantage, let's first use the take on command /f, and we indicate the path of the executable which we want to take ownership. So now we have taken ownership of the file. As you can see, the file or folder here now owned by user THM take ownership. Now the next thing is we give ourselves full permissions over this executable. /grant our user is THM take ownership. Will be F. And now we have given ourselves full permissions over utility man. So what happened here, guys? We moved the ownership of the file of the binary to our user, and then we granted ourselves permissions. So now we are able to do whatever we want on the executable. Modify it, change it, copy it, move it, whatever you like. So the objective here is to change the utility man with CMD. Okay, since utility man is running under system, spawning or replacing it with CMD, we will be able to spawn a shell under the net authority system. So the CMD is under system 32. Move CMD access denied. Access denied. Now let's go back. So why the access is denied, I don't understand. Let's see here the permissions. So THM take ownership has full access. Okay, but why can't we move or why can't we replace it? Let's try copy. Yes. So the copying has been successful. Okay, let's try now. Now what's gonna happen here, instead of executing the utility man, the command prompt will execute. So lock the screen. And indeed, as you can see, new shell has been spawned. See who you are. You are the net authority system. Retrieve the flag. and this is your flag. Oops, I think we didn't actually copy the flag. Yep, I think we have to type this ourselves. THM self C THMC flag privilege, all uppercase. And it worked, guys. Okay, stop the machine, terminate, and the last task is abusing vulnerable software, which is super easy, guys, super easy. What you're going to do here, you have a program called Drova in sync, which is vulnerable. Okay, now much like any other exploit or another vulnerability you would stumble upon when you conduct pen testing on the web application vulnerabilities, you would look for a vulnerable version, and then you would look for a matching exploit. That's what we're going to do here. A program running on the system called Drova Sync, it is vulnerable, and they have presented you with the exploit ready. All you have to do is to change the command here. So not only you will add a user called pond, you will add it also to the local administrators group. Okay, so after doing so, you will be able to spawn a session under the user pond. Okay, now we started the instance, guys. This is the vulnerable program here. Okay, Drova in sync, and here we are demonstrating one of the methods to escalate your privileges on Windows, which is exploiting vulnerable programs or out-of-date programs. Okay, now the exploit is ready for your convenience. You go to Tools, and this is the Drova in sync exploit. You can right click, open it in Notepad. This is the exploit. Okay, now this exploit is ready, guys, much like any web exploit you would find on the internet, right? So what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to change only the CMD. Okay, so the command now is adding a user called pond. Okay, we're going to change this. So net user pond, and then specify a password. Say TryHackMe/add, and execute another command, which is adding that user to the administrator group. Net local group administrator pond/add. Okay, the password, I think I'm gonna make it a bit complex. THM133. The user will be, let's say, pwnf. Okay, we save this, and then we will open partial editor. I'm gonna copy the exploit, paste it here, save it. Okay, so this is the exploit. We'll add a user called pwnf with the password THM uppercase, THM lowercase 133, and add the user to the administrators group. Upon execution now, hit save one more time. Okay, let's now check if the user has been added. So net user pwnf. Indeed, now the user has been added, and as you can see, it's part of the administrators group. The next thing now is we spawn a shell as that user. So we're going to minimize this. And run as user pwnf. We will run or spawn command prompt password . Okay, and now we spawn as the new user. Let's now pick the flag. So who is this user? who am I /prev. Okay, so cd users or c. So the flag isn't here. Let's go back. The flag, I guess, will be under pawn C. Let's see pawn C. Okay. So I guess to find the flag, guys, we will have to abide by the user created in the task. It is pawn D. So I'm going to minimize, close this one, get back to the code, change this to pawn D. The password stays the same, save. Net user pawn D. Okay. Log in now as pawn D. Oops. We're still getting this. THM. One more time. Unable to run. I guess the user hasn't been added, guys. As you can see, there's only pawn F and pawn C. Okay, however, let's log in back to log pawn F. I think it doesn't matter if the name of the user that you have created. Let's now try to cd to administrator. Most importantly is we are able to cd to administrator. No. Locally group memberships, administrators, and users. Yet we are not able to cd to administrators. Okay, let's do this. Go back and change this to only adding the user to the administrators group, pawn F. Save. Okay, back now. Let's close this shell. Still, I'm getting access denied. This task is weird. Okay, let's try another method. So instead of using run as, if we try to run cmd as administrator, and more choices, we choose pawn F, The password is THM, uppercase, THM, lowercase, 1, 2, 3. Yes. Okay, CD, C, users, administrator. Ah, it worked now. Okay. dir, cd, desktop. And this is, guys, the last flag of this room. And finally, this is finished. I hope you guys liked the video. Okay. If you have any opinion, you can comment it in the comment box, and I will see you in the next video.